Hey guys, hey. Hello, squad. Welcome one. Welcome all to three-time Reading Rainbow champion, the People's Duchess. Thank you so much for joining me for today's very special episode, for today's Saturday episode. Oh my gosh. And there is so much to go over. Look, I know you guys have seen all that I have seen. Okay, I've been going over the kerfuffle in the last couple of days, and I know you've all seen the clips and the commentary, and I just wanted to break it down. This is kind of a departure from our normal stream, so to speak, our normally scheduled program, but I really did find this quite interesting. I definitely wanted to talk about it with my chat and the squad. I've seen a lot of dialogue around this whole Brooke Shields, India Hicks thing, and I want to break it down. So we're going to get right into it. So I don't want to play the clip. I don't even want to play the clip because it's infuriating. It's infuriating to see what Megan was talking about with Jamie Kern Lima happen in real time. So if you guys recall, Jamie Kern Lima had that podcast with Megan on her show, on her podcast, and Jamie talked about an event that they went to, and when she got home, her family members started calling her and saying, "Oh my gosh, I've seen these articles about how you and Megan had this big fight at so-and-so's event. And oh my goodness, what happened? Are you okay?" And Jamie was shocked by that. She was taken aback by that because the exact opposite were true. Megan was very helpful and supportive. And we all saw those pictures. They were sitting together. And before Jamie went up there to speak, Megan had her by the hand or her forearm. I think she was like, resting her hand on Jamie's forearm, comforting her, just really like being there for her friend. So Jamie was taken aback by that because it was the very first time that she had been involved in some of this UK media trickery and nonsense. So it was a whole ordeal for her. But Megan was like, yeah, this is my life. This is what people do. They take an event, then they will go and say that the opposite of whatever happened is what happened. And unfortunately, Brooke Shields has found herself in that spotlight. So Brooke Shields took her grown self onto India Hicks's podcast. And if you guys don't know who India Hicks is, she is a nobody, really, but in certain circles, she's considered a somebody because she is the goddaughter of the king. She was one of the bridesmaids, or not bridesmaids, but I guess flower girls in Princess Diana's wedding to then Prince Charles. And I guess she's been a figure in these aristocratic circles. But, we don't know who this woman is. She's just given this platform for whatever reason. So she had Brooke Shields, a former model and former, A-list. I guess she's a current A-list actor. Let's just keep it real. She's probably currently an A-lister. She had her on her podcast, and we all were there. We all were there at South by Southwest. We watched South by Southwest. We watched Katie Couric and the panelists that included Megan and Brooke, including, all of the video evidence. We watched it ourselves, right? So we watched them do this panel. We watched Katie Couric ask Megan to retell the story about how she wrote to Procter & Gamble and got them to change a sexist commercial. And Megan did so. And Megan did so in under a minute. She did so very succinctly. She's a very well-trained media personnel, so she knows how to answer questions. She's been doing interviews since she was 11. I mean, Linda Ellerby interviewed her when she was 11. So she has been in the limelight doing interviews, very well trained in the media for her entire life, as is Brooke. As is Brooke. So you would think that Brooke would know what to do and what to say and how to conduct herself. And mind you, this event was put on in part by Archwell. So South by Southwest last year was presented in part by Archwell. What does that mean? That means Archwell had a big hand. Megan herself had a big hand in the production of that panel. So Brooke, instead of feeling, happy to be there and ingratiated to be there among such prominent women and telling, these really prominent stories about female empowerment, about helping one another, she decided to take it upon herself to be the court jester and play this little game where Karens like her, they get around Megan, and for whatever reason, they are instantly triggered. And I think I have a good idea of why. In Brooke Shields' case, she's gone through a lot. And I think being around Megan really just stirred up all of these old feelings that actresses like her have. Her and Megan are both actors. Her and Megan are both actors. Okay. So they speak the same language. They're both part of SAG-AFTRA. They're both part of the Actors Union. They both understand Hollywood behind the scenes. They both understand, things like comedic timing and elemental timing and storytelling and how to capture an audience and angles and lighting and all of those things. Brooke understands it just as well as Megan. They are both models. They're both actors. They're both, respected in their fields. So you would think that this woman would come through and have some gems of wisdom to contribute to the story. But no, she felt it necessary, and she'll retell the story to India as I interrupted Megan because I felt it necessary. But the fact of the matter is she waited until Megan was done speaking after her 54-second answer to Katie. And then she broke it up with, well, when I was 11, it was so weird. It was so weird. And then she went and told India that the room erupts in laughter and everything else. And then from there on, everything was a little bit less heavy because Megan was going on and telling this very heavy story. And Brooke, why you gotta lie, Brooke? Why you gotta lie for, Brooke? Megan was not telling a heavy story. Okay. Katie Couric asked her, could she please retell the story about when she was 11 and wrote to Procter and Gamble. Megan said, sure. She did so within 54 seconds. It was a very prompt, succinct, to the point answer. She did not keep saying that she was 11. You, Brooke, did not interrupt her and say, I'm so sorry, I've got to interrupt you here for a minute, because you weren't trying to be rude, but she was being so serious. That is not at all what happened. And the thing about it is, we have eyes on this event. It's a video recorded event. It is preserved in history forever. You cannot just take an event that is preserved like that historically via video evidence and retell the story how you think it would translate better with a racist audience. You cannot do that. And I don't understand Brooke's inability to grasp that for herself before she told this story. I don't understand why she didn't think to herself, well, a lot of people saw this and it's still out there as a matter of public record. Why don't I just tell the story as is? Why did you feel like people would believe you over their own eyes and ears when they went and pulled up that video? This is not recollections may vary. Recollections don't vary here. Recollection is exactly what we saw on the video. You don't get a different recollection of what actually happened, Brooke. You don't get to just sit there and indulge this ridiculous thief sitting across from you in this story in a manner that makes both of you feel more comfortable with your inferiority and your insecurity, comparing yourself to Megan. And I'll never understand that. It'd be one thing if the things were unfolding behind the scenes, if we weren't able to see them, if it was a true he said, she said. That would be one thing. But the fact of the matter is, we have tons and tons of videographic evidence of what happened. You can't just lie and manipulate the events to suit your narrative here. So Brooke made this very, very serious error, and India in response said, oh yeah, yeah, I think that's brilliant. Oh my goodness, I think that's brilliant. And I know India probably saw the clip too. So she was just joining on the hater bandwagon for no reason. Hey, avid reader, how you doing? Happy Saturday. Hope you had a wonderful week and enjoying a great weekend. Hey, Duchess, Brooke's insecurity is insidious. Megan's inherent excellence triggers Karen's and shines a spotlight on their inferiority. Don't hate on Megan. Appreciate and learn from her, Brooke. Couldn't have said it better myself. Could not have said it better myself. It just doesn't make any sense. I would understand if she were coming from a viewpoint where it was a closed door meeting. She could then manipulate the details of said meeting to suit her narrative. But Brooke, why would you lie so publicly when everyone, even people that do not like Megan, can go back to that video just to see you own her like you are purporting to have done here? And imagine their face when they saw the video. Imagine their face seeing the video and going, wait a minute, she wasn't, hold on. Let me watch that one more time. Hold on, let me make sure. And then watching it again and going, Brooke. So even people that want to hate on Megan and want to believe you, when they finally go to that video and see for themselves, how is that going to make you look, even among people that want to be on your side, fellow Karens like yourself? It's going to be quite disappointing. And that's why you folks deleted that podcast, because you were up there just bold-faced lying, boldly lying, and you knew it was a lie. I'm not willing to give you the benefit of the doubt that you just didn't know, that, it might just have been an oversight, or you might have remembered things differently. I know that you guys do a whole lot of drugs. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to give you a little bit of leeway here because your brain scrambled, hard fried. I get that. But when you're on a podcast and you're trying to get out a story that's going to be, again, preserved for posterity, preserved for future reference, you can't just get up there and lie like that, high or not. You have to know what you're talking about. You called her precious. You said, it was just too precious. It was just too serious. I didn't want to sit there for 45 minutes and listen to anyone be precious or serious. Girl, you a lie. The only serious thing about that is how you perceived yourself to be the comic relief in that moment, and you were not. That room didn't erupt in laughter when you said that. People got very uncomfortable. When you said that you were 11 years old playing a pro, the place didn't go insane. The place did not go insane. The place got really uncomfortable because we all remember this. I wasn't around for this. I don't think I was alive, or maybe I was a baby. I don't remember what year Pretty Baby came out. But you did this movie Pretty Baby when you were 11, and people were very uncomfortable with this. Looking on your screen right now, this is very uncomfortable. even if you've never watched the movie, this was the movie. And would you want to see this movie based on this screenshot? It was as disgusting as it sounds. And she was actually fully nude in this movie at 11. No body double, nothing. Just her nude in a room full of men. Her mom thought it was okay. Her parents weren't tripping. Like, they pimped her out to Hollywood and everybody was okay with it. And I'm sure you've also seen the clips and the commentary from that. Grown men, interview after interview, asking her at like 11 and 12 years old if she has a boyfriend and how she views men. Just predators waiting, chomping at the bit to prey on her. This was not something that brought that crowd to a roaring laughter. People got very uncomfortable when you said that, Brooke. I was uncomfortable when you said that. When you said you were 11 and playing a pro, I was super uncomfortable because we remember what it was like before Me Too and Time's Up for you people in Hollywood, for you children, child actors in Hollywood. We've seen the documentaries. We know what really happened to you. There's nothing funny about any of that. Why would that be a point of laughter? Why would anyone laugh at that? How is that funny? Like, explain to me the punchline of being an 11-year-old playing a pro on television in the 80s, I think it was, maybe 70s. I don't remember. I don't know. Like, where's the joke? Footage from the panel is still available. And the fact of the matter is, you leapt up in that moment after Megan gave her very succinct, very tailored, very appropriate answer. You leapt up because in your head, you were thinking, my job was so glamorous. I was the eye. I was the apple of everyone's eye at the time. And look at what this girl was doing at 11. So much better than me. And you had a prestigious position. You were in a very prestigious position and you were a Hollywood starlet already. You were like, Jodie Foster. You were amongst the Jodie Foster crowds. But that paled in comparison in your mind to what Duchess Megan was doing when she was 11 as a non-Hollywood, non-celebrity kid. She was making an impact in the world. And at that moment, you felt like all of those accolades that you got from a very early age were empty and hollow because what Megan was doing as a non-celebrity was way more meaningful. And this is what I talk about in the inferiority complex. You people have this inferiority complex where you have been told all your life that you're so great, that you're so amazing, everything you do is wonderful. And then you see someone like Megan come along who early on in her childhood was already doing things that a leader, that someone that would rise to prominence would do. This is the type of path that a clear-cut leader, like if Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, won some kind of UN position or was elected to some kind of UN position, nobody would bat an eye at that because she's put in the work, and she has. Her body of work speaks for itself. So when you see someone like this, it makes everything that you've done, all of the awards that you've won, everything that you've done in Hollywood, which everyone else envies, seem so small in comparison. And that's where you are. That's where you found yourself on this particular day at South by Southwest. You came there looking the way you looked, as put together as you felt you could be. And here comes Megan sauntering in her two-piece silk set that sold out immediately, that everyone complimented, that was the star of the show. And don't get her wrong. Meghan's beauty always precedes her. Everyone talks about how absolutely gorgeous and stunning this is. We all remember, burned into our heads, the fact that Prince Harry described her as the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen in his life, that she shattered the conveyor belt. She was heart attack beautiful. That is what people remember about her. But when you hear her talk, that's when you people get intimidated. That's when you get intimidated because you feel you're beautiful too. You feel like enough men have told you you're beautiful, so you don't necessarily have to feel insecure about that. But when she starts talking, you start getting smaller and smaller and smaller because you realize that everything that you've done is superficial compared to the deep substantive work that Meghan has put in from the beginning, from the first day it seems that she was born. Hey, Gwendolyn, happy Saturday. Welcome to the chat. Hope you've had a wonderful week. That's the only explanation that I can come up with. And if you guys have something different, I mean, by all means, let me know. But the fact of the matter is, Brooke did this, in my opinion, deliberately. I put up a poll: is Brooke a hater or jealous or misguided but shady? I feel like she's probably a little bit of each, but probably mostly jealous. That Olivia Rodrigo song, Jealous, comes to mind here. She wishes she could have that. She deserves that. She's jealous. She's more prettier. She's this, she's that. Oh, look at her face. Everything comes to mind here because it takes such an insecure person, such a level of jealousy and insecurity to be at the highest level in your field. I think Brooke Shields is the president of some type of actors guild, not the Screen Actors Guild, because I know Fran Drescher is a president of that, but she's somebody somewhere, right? Brooke Shields is something to somebody, some body of actors somewhere. She's like authority over whatever. But like, you know, that's not enough. And I think that also she probably feels like, oh, well, why would she be getting all this, you know, accolade and stuff just because she, you know, whatever, she shouldn't. In the deepest recesses of their mind, they simply do not believe that a person of mixed race heritage deserves it. And it goes all the way back to how they spoke of her before she even married Harry, when they first learned of their relationship. I think that people like Brooke Shields and Karens in general, they are furious with Meghan and they have a lot to say about Meghan because involuntarily, very much against their will, they have Meghan on a pedestal that she deserves to be on. They know she deserves to be on it. They cannot think of one reason why she shouldn't be on it, but it infuriates them that she's there and they're not. And I'm talking about an internal pedestal. In their own mind, they see her as perfect. How do we know that? Because they always describe her as things like, oh, she's a goddess. Just last week, they were talking about her twerking video on one of these, hate channels. Someone called her a goddess. Avid reader, thank you so much for the super chat, hon. I appreciate that. Someone called her a goddess just last week. Fox News surprised us all with their take on it. Another Australian hate channel surprised us with their take on it. They have said very complimentary things because they know that she looked bomb when she was pregnant. Y'all know, if you've watched any of my fashion recap videos, you know, I believed that the most beautiful Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, has ever looked was when she was wearing that black one-shouldered Givenchy velvety gown with the gold jewelry at the British Fashion Awards that one year. I think it was either 2018 or 2019. No, it had to be 2019. It had to be. So for me, that is her all-time best look ever. And she was, I don't know how many months pregnant, but very pregnant at that point. She looked so devastatingly beautiful. And even aside from that, Meghan is just the kind of woman that makes men fall to their knees. She's a Diana type. Her beauty makes men fall to their knees behind closed doors. So women like Brooke see a woman like Meghan and they want to hate, but they can't because she starts talking. She's very friendly, bubbly, nice, spirited, outgoing. She starts talking about her past, her resume, and it's impressive AF. She's got world leaders on there. She's got world missions on there. She's got the UN on there. She's got a successful acting career on there. How many of you have had one job for 7 years? How many of the general population has had one job for 7 years these days? People job hop a lot. She had the same job for 7 years on a hit show. So much so that they have a Korean version of Suits. They have an India version of Suits. As you all know, they have a Suits LA now, like a very popular hit show. You cannot say it wasn't a hit show. It was. There were multiple adaptations of that show. It made it past 100 episodes. Those are all the marks, the hallmarks of a popular hit show. So in as much as you want to call her, before Harry D-list or whatever else the case might be, I don't think a multimillionaire, self-made, popular, beautiful actor who was on a hit show, had a hit social media following with over 3 million followers, had a hit blog with the TIG, did her thing. I mean, made her bag. She was modeling. She was doing a lot of things. There's no fault there. And we've talked about this previously as well. I think the main problem people have with Meghan is that she's scandal free. There's nothing that you can point to in her past and say, look, she dated this nefarious character. She had a drug problem for a little bit over here. She's obviously an alcoholic over here. Look at her stumbling out of the club at 3 a.m. with Drake. No. She didn't have any of those. Brooke Shields, on the other hand, has been associated with several controversies throughout her career. Okay, so it looks like Pretty Baby came around in 78, definitely way before my time. She then started a Calvin Klein commercial, which, also very risque, very adult. She went on to star in other films that continued to portray her in a very adult, provocative manner in the 80s. Some point during this time, she was unfortunately assaulted by a Hollywood executive, as happens with women like her, child actors. They often get taken advantage of. Unfortunately, when you're talking Hollywood, that's kind of par for the course. This was, again, before Time's Up, before Me Too, before the support network that women built from these movements. So Brooke was just out there. She was just out there. She was Drew Barrymore, just out there, No protection, no child laws in place to secure her safety, nothing. She was just out there. She also went through postpartum depression, and it was very heavily chronicled because she went a little bit Britney at the time. She went a little bit Britney at the time. So I believe that it's a cacophony of things. These women, they might be beautiful and they might be successful, but they have a lot of trauma. You can look at Brooke Shields', we'll call it a rap sheet for no better terms here. You can look at a rap sheet here and you can see the trauma on paper. She was not protected. She was really not protected in Hollywood. And that is very much unlike Meghan's experience. Meghan was extremely shielded. She was guarded by her parents. She was loved by her parents. She was protected by her parents. She came into the game a little bit later on and then was protected by her then boyfriend and husband, who was also a producer and had, a very big name in Hollywood, producing some of the biggest movies in Hollywood. So he shielded her from any other nonsense that would befall her. Unlike Brooke here, who did not have that protection. And I think that's the main thing. She was really, people like Brooke, specifically actors, Hollywood actors like Brooke Shields, who feel like they're comparable or better than Megan. They look at the things that Megan has gone through and done in her life, and they are bitter about the fact that she doesn't have these stories or recollections. None of this stuff happened to her. She was shielded, guarded, and protected. And as a white woman, Brooke Shields feels like, well, why wasn't I shielded, guarded, and protected? I'm beautiful. I have the right color. I have the right eyes. I have the right look. Why was I not shielded, guarded, and protected in that way? And it's bitterness. It's really that bitterness that comes in because most actors, most Hollywood individuals have that experience. It's rare that you find a woman in Hollywood who doesn't have this experience, trying to make it and being taken advantage of. It's very rare. So Megan is extremely rare in so many ways. She's actually like a 1 in a billion type of human being. There are probably 2, 3, maybe 4 women like Meghan Markle. I keep saying Meghan Markle, and I mean to say Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. I'm sorry, Meghan. There are maybe a handful of women like her that have her same set of circumstances. Handful. Because everyone else has really fallen victim to a lot of the shenanigans and the kerfuffle that goes on in Hollywood. Everyone's watching the Diddy trial. We all see what happened to Cassie. Look at Cassie, one of the most beautiful women in the world. And it still happened to her too. It can happen to anyone. It's not about what you look like. It's about the kind of person you have in your orbit. And unfortunately, Brooke was in the orbit of a predator, and so was Cassie, and so were a lot of women in their positions. Gwendolyn, she really looked like she was high, acting crazy. Well, she had a drink. And I don't want to insinuate nothing, but the slurring was slurring, bro. Thank you for that, Gwendolyn. And I completely agree. She had something to drink, and who knows if that was her first, second, or ninth. We don't know. We wasn't there. But she was absolutely slurring during that recollection as well. She sounded like Camilla Parker Bowles. Okay. Avid reader, yes, when her mother was a Kris Jenner type, it was all about securing the bag. She didn't look out for her daughter's safety or emotional well-being. They did not at all. And she speaks about this in her biography. Brooke wrote a biography, and in it she included these stories. And we've all seen the clips. I don't want to play those clips here, but we've all seen the clips. Those grown men were not just being inappropriate with her. Some of them were touching her, physically touching her. She's 11, 12, 13, and they're physically touching her legs, touching her arm, just finding any way to touch her. And it was so disturbing. And her mom would be there. They just would be there watching that happen. And it could not have been comfortable. And I understand. And again, they look at someone like Megan and think, well, I've won so many awards. I am someone who is so much better as far as our craft. As an actor, my name is a household name because I am so good at my craft. I've won the Academy Award. I've won the Emmys. I've won this. I won that. Why should this person have a higher billing than me anywhere just because she married a prince? That's not fair. I deserve to be the one at the top. Actors are big on top billing, whose name comes first on the movie poster. They're huge about that. They're huge about that. Who gets first billing, who gets second billing, and so on and so forth. It is a big deal to them. It's sometimes in their contract that they have to have top billing, which is my name comes first and then everyone else's name comes second. And they fight for that so hard because they don't want to be given the co-star role or a role that would be indicative of not the lead. They have to be very clear that they are the lead. And that also ties into award season, Oscar contentions. They want to make sure that they win the Oscar for best actor and not supporting actor. So they want to, make sure that people know that I am the lead in this role, So I understand. I get it. I understand. But Brooke, Megan is not an actor anymore. She's not an actor anymore. You should not see her as your competition. You both are in a completely different arena. This was South by Southwest, and the topic was women empowering and strengthening ties in their communities. This was how we can all lift each other up. That was the topic of the day. It was not individually about Megan. I know you might have thought that way and been triggered because she told a story about herself that she was asked to tell. Again, the video is there. She didn't just burst out in some random, dialogue about this story. She was asked by the panelist, Katie Couric, to tell this story. She did so in a great and succinct way. And you should not have felt triggered by that. But you did. You felt that she was making this about herself. And the only reason you felt that way was because in your head, everything is already about her. You have her on a pedestal in your head. So from the minute you saw her, you were on your knees. You fell to your knees when you saw her. You couldn't believe what you were seeing. And so when she started talking about herself, you said, let me mitigate some of this. And it's really unfortunate that you feel that way. You and Karens like you should really unpack why it is that Megan makes you fall to your knees. I think there's a lot of bitterness. At the end of the day, there's a whole lot of bitterness. The reason why you uphold Megan on a pedestal involuntarily, okay, you have her on your pedestal involuntarily. You do not want her to be there, but you cannot deny that she's in fact there. You cannot deny that she in fact deserves to be there. You yourself have gone through so much trauma. And again, I want to be sympathetic towards you, but I'll be completely honest. I don't have any sympathy for you, Brooke. I feel like once you turn the tables and try to villainize another woman, a woman that has done nothing but been gracious. And again, keep in mind, this was put on by Archwell. The panel was partially presented by the Archwell Foundation. So this is a person who has done so much work behind the scenes to bring you to that event. You did not just get a call out of the blue and here you are and you showed up. No, that's also a lie. You told India Hicks that Katie Couric called you and just said, hey, come to this panel, yada, yada. But the fact of the matter is Archwell was also presenting that and Megan had a hand in you being there. She probably idolized you growing up. And for that, the thanks that she gets is for you to take seeing her as an insult, as a personal affront to your life, to your job, I think to your reputation. You took seeing her and you were so discombobulated by that. You were personally insulted that you did not measure up. And then you started thinking about all your trauma. When she told that story about her being 11 and making a difference in the world and moving humanity forward, it triggered your trauma response because when you were 11, you were being groped by grown men in front of the world and nobody did a thing to help you or stop it. The resentment set in, the bitterness set in, the how dare she have this beautiful life set in. And you didn't have to voice those thoughts. You really just didn't. You didn't have to break up anything. It wasn't serious. She told a very lighthearted version of that story. And she ended it with, you have a voice and you can use it. A very empowering note to end on. But you were already triggered. You were already triggered. You couldn't get over it. And then you started thinking about your own trauma and it triggered you even more. Gwendolyn, it really messed their minds up that Harry married a beautiful, brilliant, strong Meghan. It did. It broke something in, I think, all of the Karens worldwide. And we saw that. We saw that firsthand. We saw them breaking. We saw them breaking and breaking into pieces. We saw them doing all kinds of ratchet, ghetto things, cutting and pasting their pictures over Meghan's wedding picture, like just ratchet, crazy Karen behavior. And it doesn't surprise me that she would have been allowed to do this on India Hicks's podcast. India Hicks, who I called a thief earlier, I didn't just say that because I felt like calling her a thief. She's a documented thief. This woman goes around shoplifting at high-end stores. She's the royal Winona Ryder. Why would you do that? Why would you go and shoplift a coat from Heathrow Harrods, India? Why would you do that? Could it have something to do with your unfulfilled life with this ugly man that you married in elderly age? Could it be that you're angry and upset with Meghan, that she has a man who's willing to give up everything for her, do everything that she would need to be safe and protected, while you had to settle for what looks like, I don't know, Jim Beam himself? I don't understand. Instead of just drinking your water and minding your business because you know you got these skeletons in your closet, you know darn well you are on paper. You know you on paper, girl. You know you a convicted felon. What you mean? Why would you be out here in the public acting as if you are clean as the pure driven snow? And you know darn well you are a convicted felon. That just doesn't make any sense to me. I wouldn't take that risk. But you felt because you are King Charles's goddaughter that you would somehow be protected and nobody would even bring this up, that you're just too good. You're above all. Girl, you are not above all this. Tell us why you shoplifted this coat from Heathrow Harrods. Give us the tea, India. That's what we want to know. Forget about all this other nonsense that you talking on that podcast. Tell us why you went into that Heathrow Harrods and shoplifted that coat, India. Because that doesn't make any sense unless you're an unfulfilled, unloved, feel something was lacking in your life and you just needed the thrill of it. Because I'm pretty sure you had 680 pounds. I'm 100% sure you had that 680 pounds. What you didn't have was any self-respect, self-worth. value in yourself, confidence in yourself. You didn't have any confidence in yourself. That's why you were in Herod's stealing. And I don't know who gave you a podcast. I guess anyone can have a podcast these days. This is proof. You can be a criminal and still have a podcast. So you have this podcast and you knew that segment would draw attention. And instead of operating like a criminal who's trying to avoid detection that you are, you instead said, no. I cannot resist taking this shot at Megan. I cannot resist indulging this insane woman across from me from taking this shot at Megan. This one's for my godfather. This one's for my god relatives. And how's that working out for you, babes? How's it working out for you? How's this whole podcast venture with Brooke Shields working for you? And I'm sure you guys talked about other things in that podcast or, whatever. But like, how's it working out for you? Gwen, wonder did these what women thought they had a chance with Harry? They certainly did. From what I saw of the what commentary when all the things were happening, they were all very upset. It was the opposite of William, William had nobody around that was willing, while Harry had people chomping at the bit. Everyone was so mad when he married Meghan. And I think I've always said this. I think that the biggest problem was that, he didn't marry someone that looked like me. I could at least envision me instead of her. But with Meghan, you can't do that. You can't envision yourself in her shoes. She's so much better than you. You can't possibly. She's not someone that you can pretend that that's you. If it was any one of his exes, you could maybe pretend because you might be a little business owner or whatever the case, but you cannot pretend to be Meghan. She's so out of your league. She's like out of the league of most people, again, because she's just done extraordinary things her entire life. So people were angry that they could not relate to Meghan in that way. And again, they placed her on this pedestal they know she deserves to be on, but they're so furious with themselves that they have involuntarily placed her there. They don't want her to be there. They would love it for it to be themselves, or at the very minimum, Kate, or a person like Kate. But they know that nobody comes close. They're not touching Meghan on her accomplishments or anything else. Avid reader, Karens have been taught their entire lives that they are the gold standard. And when they are presented with evidence to the contrary in the form of Black woman excellence, the psychotic breaks begin. It's very much dissociation. You have to dissociate so bad from reality. You have to really and utterly remove yourself from what you're looking at, from what you're seeing. You have to, all these people that, well, she's just a gold digger. You have to really remove yourself from the millions in Meghan's bank account pre-Harry. You have to really dissociate hard from that. You got to say millions of dollars ain't nothing to make it work in your head. The gold digger thing, you got to really, really work hard to psychotic break away from millions of dollars being nothing. You yourself with like what, $35 in your account right now, right? You yourself with nothing, with almost paycheck to paycheck, nothing. You have to work so hard to tell yourself that $5 million is nothing. To make that work in your head and to make the gold digger, thing be a thing. To make it true in your head, you have to really just completely disregard reality. Those of you that say that she's not that attractive, you have to work extra hard You have to work extra hard because every model, every actor, everyone that has made it to those levels, you have to now say, well, that's not the standard of who determining what's fine or not, what's pretty or not. You have to work extra hard to make being a model and an actor not the standard for beauty. You have to work diligently to break away, psychotically break away from that being the telltale sign that a person is gorgeous. It's really interesting to study this type of psychosis. It's extremely interesting. And that's why I love our channel, because we're so educational about it. We go deep into this stuff. We go real deep into this stuff. It's crazy the type of dissociative identity disorder that racists have to be able to say the things that they say, to be able to deny the truths that they see and hear like the rest of us. It's crazy. But that's what they do. I think it's a derangement. It's a derangement. This is how deranged they look and act and are. They walk around the earth completely dissociated from reality, because to be within reality would be to have to accept the reality, accepting that Megan is better than you, accepting that her mother is Black and they're better than you, accepting that what you've been told about the inferiority of the Black race is completely untrue. You've been confronted with that. You've been confronted with those facts, not just in Megan, but you've seen it. You've seen it in Michelle Obama. You've seen it in Kamala Harris. You've seen it in Beyonce. You've seen it in Whitney Houston. You've seen it in Michael Jackson. You've seen it in all of the Black excellence and examples of that. You've seen it. And instead of to adjust your thought process to how you perceive Black folks, you'd rather just say, oh, no, those are exceptions to some random rule that I made up, that they're just not as good. Like, girl, you've seen it in Coco Gauff just a few days ago. Just a few days ago, you saw Coco Gauff whoop Arina Sabalenka's behind. And instead of Arina or Ariana, or however you say that girl name, accepting that she was beat. She's been beat before by Coco Gauff, so she can't just say it was a fluke. It wasn't a fluke. She beat you. Beating someone means that you're better than them. Or does that not mean that you're better than them anymore? When it comes to Black women beating somebody, does that mean that they're not better? How is it not better? You're talking about, the wind and all the nonsense that you try to excuse this. But girl, the fact of the matter is we all saw in 4K on that clay court, Coco Gauff whooped you. And that means she's better than you by default, and by definition, she is better than you, period. Whether you want to accept it or not, whether you want to dissociate from that or not, it just doesn't matter. It does not matter how dissociative you Karens are about the reality of the situation. It does not change the reality of the situation. Brooke, it doesn't change anything that Megan, Duchess of Sussex, married a real life prince and became the Duchess of Sussex, which is a station that I'm quite sure you see as better than you. There's no other reason that you were up there saying the things that you said in complete contradiction of the evidence available. It's the same reason why Kate Middleton wore this bright pink fuchsia number to a 9/11 memorial. Whereas everyone else wore black, she wore bright pink, and she was looking deranged, utterly deranged the entire time. I'm going to give her a speck of grace here because she was pregnant and the hormones may have had her face all the way screwed up like this for the majority of the event, I'm going to give her a speck of grace on that. But why would you wear a fuchsia coat to a 9/11 memorial? Derangement. Derangement is why you would do this. People like Kate and Brooke are not treated well by their realities, so they have to dissociate from everything. The fact of the matter is, Kate Middleton has never been treated well in her reality by her man. And I think one of the big problems that these people have with Meghan is that Meghan has always been treated well by her man. And for whomever is out there that still considers relationships a big deal, it's a big deal to have a man, no matter what, you're willing to debase yourself to any level to say that you have a man. I think Kate Middleton is part of that. And it's a shame and it's a humiliation for her that she's part of a group of women who will literally do anything to have a man. And in her case, have this man, right? So this man, I think she thought was worth the humiliation, worth all of the sacrifice. You know, a lot of women think that that's worth any man, right? But in this case, she thought this particular man who is going to be the King of England deserves my sacrifice and deserves my humiliation. This is one of the earliest recollections of that, where Kate was left in the dust by her man. She's never been treated well by this man, ever. And people like her, she is banking on the public looking at her as having this very perfect and ideal relationship. And she knows good gosh darn well that that's just not the case. That man can't stand you. I don't know Brooke Shields' husband, but I can only imagine how he is, because by and by, you know, women have a lot of these stories about how it really is to be a beautiful woman and just be taken advantage of by men the same way they take advantage of anybody. It doesn't matter that you're the most beautiful or whatever the case might be. If a man wants to dog you out, he is going to dog you out. And William dogged her out so bad, so publicly. And the problem is Brooke and Kate know that Meghan has no such recollection. She has no such experience. Harry has never dogged her out like that, at least not publicly. Not to our knowledge, nothing. And I feel like he was being very truthful and spare when he told us about the one time that he snapped at her and she was like, oh, hell no. She was like, you need therapy, okay? I thought that was such a great story. But I think that the moral of that story is Meghan checked him. Meghan checked him with a quickness, and neither of these women, nor I think any Karen anywhere, has been able to do the same thing. No woman anywhere has really been able to check a man and say, bro, not with me, not ever. You need therapy. And the guy, instead of saying, screw you, I'm off to my next, woman, said, okay, no. I'm going to go ahead and get therapy. That's the real problem. That's the real problem. Meghan is the kind of woman that brought a man to his knees. And I'm not saying that in a horrible way. When I say brought a man or bring a man to their knees, I'm not talking about in a humiliation way or nothing like that. I'm talking about the kind of guy that would do anything for you, which is a beautiful thing, which is what they always advertise themselves as, right? Providers and protectors. That's all I'm talking about. Protecting her like that. So much so that he went and worked on himself in order to protect her from himself, from him even snapping at her, let alone anyone else. And Kate, poor Kate, she couldn't even get an umbrella in the rain from her man. So The inferiority complex and the way these women view Megan is very, very different from how they are. And I don't care what nobody say. The way your man looks at you is how he feels. I don't care what nobody say. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. You cannot tell me that protocol requires this look. You cannot tell me that for whatever reason, royal protocol requires the husband to look disgustedly at his wife, and that Harry was breaking some kind of royal protocol by looking with glee upon his wife. Okay? You cannot tell me that this is not a telltale sign of disorder in said marriage. No, because that would mean that you want me to discard the truth, discard what I'm looking at with my own two eyes, and think, no, there must be an alternative reason why these men are looking at their wives so disgustedly. There has to be some other reason. And you know what? I don't even think that's disgust. That just looks like, I don't know, a regular moment in time. No, absolutely not. It's not just a moment in time, captured, offbeat, whatever. The way you look upon your partner is the way you feel about your partner. And I don't care if they're not fully smiling and cheesing and grinning. This should not be the way that you look upon your partner. And you're never going to convince me to dissociate men who look at women like this and say, no, they love them. No. Don't worry about the disgusted look. Okay? Do not worry about the disgusted look. Forget about it. Okay? Just think to yourself that they love them. Or am I missing something here? Should I in fact think that a disgusted look means the look of love? I'm not going to do that. I live in reality. I live in the real world. And I saw a woman make up a lie about another woman because she was very much intimidated by that woman. She had no ulterior motive, unlike Kate, who I think had the ulterior motive of, I need to be more popular than her within our royal circles. I have a space to secure in the hierarchy, the public. She had all this nonsense in her head about why she needed to lie. But Brooke, on the other hand, had zero reason. She had zero reason. She didn't need to ever speak on that South by Southwest panel in her entire life ever again. But she felt compelled to because it's been eating at her. The jealousy, the rage, the anger, the inability to take Megan off her own internal pedestal that she put her on, she has not been able to get over that. Megan brought her to her knees. She's angry about that. No man has ever looked at Megan like this. She's furious about that. Men have looked to her like this all the time. This is a prerequisite. The way not only the man looks at you, but the way the woman looks back at the man. It'd be one thing if we always caught the husband looking at the wife with a very disgusted face. But when we see the wife returning said look, again, you're not going to convince me to dissociate and say that doesn't mean anything. You're never going to convince me to say that doesn't mean squat. It means something. When you cannot muster up a smile for your spouse, it means something. History has proven time and time again that it means something. And I don't know Brooke's husband. I don't care to know. I didn't look it up because I don't feel like it's relevant. But based on her history alone, I know that she has had a very, very, very rough go of it. And when it came down to keeping it together or not keeping it together, I think a very big self-soothing mechanism for these people is to lie and try to trash another human being to make themselves feel better. I call them internal cuts. It's like when people cut themselves externally to like they describe it as like self-soothing. So they do these internal cuts. Let me go ahead and bully this woman real quick. Let me lie on this person real quick and try to destroy her real quick. That's an internal cut that you're making on your own body or your own mental health, mental consciousness to try to self-soothe. Avid reader, is that Jason Knopf in the background? He's always lurking. Yeah, girl. What he call him? The wasp? Was he the wasp or was he the fly? I can't remember. But yeah, that was the creature. In the background, slithering back there. I think he was actually he had eyes on William. You're not going to convince me that wasn't a little throuple going on back there. Dolores Williams, welcome to the chat. Happy Saturday. Thank you so much for joining us. Harry and Meghan love each other and they also like each other. Yes. That is the point I am trying to make. Harry and Meghan not only love each other, but they like each other. It's like at first sight. They liked each other so much. And the chemistry was just chemistry in for these two. And I think that that's another very big part of like people's like issue and problem. Their man doesn't like them. They know their man doesn't like them. They know darn well that man does not like them at all. If not for the fact that they can, get what they want to get from them, get a cook, get a maid, get a nanny, have their children, have, access to in between the sheets all the time, whenever they want. That man doesn't like you. You're a utility for him. You're a safeguard for him. You're a societal tool for him. He gets ahead in life when he has a wife and children, and he leverages that, and you know it. Most women, in my opinion, my own humble opinion, I'm not saying that this is like data or research or anything, but I feel like a lot of women know that their man can't stand them. They're on these podcasts, they're telling us they don't like these women. They don't like their girlfriends. They don't like their wives. They just marry them out of whatever utility they can get out of them. And because they can't do any better. And that's why I think William also is a bitter Karen as well, because he couldn't do any better than Kate. No one else wanted him. William wanted Isabella, what was her name? Calthorpe or whatever that lady's name was. He wanted a bunch of other ladies. No aristocratic woman would marry him. And the bitterness and the rage comes out with Harry and Meghan in William as well. He's so hateful. And he shows that. They both do. William looks at her like he cannot stand her, and she looks at him like she can't wait until the day she can just escape. She looks at him like Princess Charlene looks at Albert of Monaco, and vice versa. And again, you're never, ever, ever going to convince me that this doesn't mean anything, that looks don't mean anything. With all the body language experts out there that analyze Harry and Meghan's every move, you're not going to convince me that this body language doesn't mean anything. Especially when we know that they have a lot of issues. Absolutely agree. That's William's man. You can't tell me nothing, because when Kate was in the quote unquote in hospital, that's allegedly, He showed up for 15 minutes with his boyfriend in tow. Now, why would he have come with, I believe it was Christian Jones at the time, but like, why would he have come with him and nobody else? And the way that he and, that Knopf person, the way that they carry on and things, it's something else. It's not normal. It's not the regular, degular, schmegular, you're my aide and I love you, bro, type situation, type deal. We're talking something else here. There's a gleam in the eye that I'm not quite and wholly comfortable with. There's a little spark there. There's a little too much chemistry. That taffy is a little too laughy for me. And there's nothing wrong with that. Happy Pride Month, BTW. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But that taffy is a bit too laughy for me. Gwen, I think he's on the roster. Allegedly. Yeah. The thing about it is, look, again, I feel this way because of the evidence at hand. Before Harry and Meghan, the UK press used to write very, very honestly about about William and Kate. They wrote about the arguments. They wrote about the violent fights. They wrote about the throwing of the things. They wrote about the extreme mood swings. They wrote about all of the things. Prior to Harry and Meghan, they wrote honestly and candidly about the problems that these two had in their marriage. And I'm not saying that they couldn't have recovered from it. I'm not saying that couples don't recover every single day from marital issues. It's normal to have marital issues, but this prolonged way that they have shown each other pepper is not normal. I don't think these two people like each other at all. I don't think they ever have. I think at one point she was desperately in love with him and that was not returned. He then saw that had to be returned. He then agreed to, provide some semblance of that for her. She also agreed, and here we are. Of course, it's not the ideal scenario, but here we are. And this is why the resentment is there. The hate is there. Most people can't even get a text back. Or when they do get a text back, it's at 2 a.m. It's the hey, big head text at 2 a.m. What are you doing? Not even a full what are you doing? Just WYD. That's it. That's it. And that builds a lot of resentment, even in the most beautiful women you've ever seen, even in these women that we are supposed to believe are just, creme de la creme, top of the tops. Women like Brooke Shields really felt that she should have been the focus of everybody's attention at that South by Southwest event. And when she found that was not the case, and again, when she found herself on her knees in front of Meghan, that infuriated her. And I feel like a lot of people are really and truly infuriated by the fact that they just can't get over how Meghan makes them feel. They don't want to feel less than compared to her, but they do. And they show us every day that they're less than. They show us every single day that they're less than, because all they can ever talk about is, I don't think I don't think they can never just say these are the facts. This is actually what is observable truth about the scenario. And if you guys haven't seen the Inferiority Complex yet, I put this out a while ago. It's members only. So if you would like to watch this in its full entirety and also join our membership, the link is definitely pinned in the chat. Let me go ahead and pull this up. I want to play a short clip. This will never get old for me, y'all. I will probably play this clip until the end of time.
First to admit, wherever I go in the world, everybody knows I'm English. Terrible teeth, lackluster hair, poor wardrobe, big gut. All of these things...
Not really problems I've got, let's be honest.
No, James, they're the exact problems that you've got as well. You're looking... Yeah, you know that? Yes, just awful. Your hair's awful. Everything's awful. Which is a hallmark of being English.
That's racist.
It's the true fact. We just look terrible.
Not much I can do about that.
All right, so become a member to unlock that full video, but I love that clip. It says everything you need to know. It says everything you need to know. These people hate themselves. And I know that we are moving away from like that type of superficiality, the looks based, just that looks alone thing. I do value personality, brains, all of those things are things that are to be accounted for, and you're not any less of a human if you aren't physically attractive. I mean, it doesn't matter what you look like. It just doesn't. However, when you look like this and you got the nerve to not have the substantive record that Megan also has, I don't feel are qualified to talk. If you are giving Quasimodo, if you're giving Peter Griffin, if you're giving, just a very unfortunate appearance, and then you're opening your mouth without having anything in your own resume or repertoire to really back you up as someone who can say this because you've done more, you've done better, you're better off, you have the accolades to prove it, you should really just shut the hell up. You should really just shut the hell up, because you guys are clearly just feeling quite inferior. You're looking terrible. You sound terrible. You don't have nothing going on in your lives. And then once we do a little bit of digging, here's the PDF, here's the alcoholic. Here's the husband that was screwing all of Europe. Here's the person who hates themselves every single day from a place deep, deep, deep down. Like, come on now. And you have the nerve. It'd be one thing if you were perfect otherwise, but you have the nerve when you have so many skeletons and you look like Rob Zombie. Like, come on. No offense to Rob Zombie, the OG, but like, bro, let's just, come on now. Can we just be freaking real for 1 minute? You guys look terrible. Y'all look terrible. And you should just take that and consider that before you open your mouths, because we know your inferiority complex is just shining. We know how you operate. And that's how you have people like Kate Middleton just walking around doing the fakest stuff, acting crazy, doing whatever, because she feels like, oh, no. I should just be able to be this fake. I should just be able to just trick everybody and act crazy whenever I want to. People will buy it. People will eat it up. And she's probably been very surprised as of late that just happens not to be the case anymore. Did you guys see Trooping of the Color? Oh my God, they did a 2020 to 2025 comparison of the crowds. No, not 2020. It was like 2021 or 2022 or whenever they resumed. They did a comparison of those crowds. Boy, I tell you, that Trooping of the Color crowd, half of them were protection officers. A quarter of them were those Republic down with the crown, not my king crowd. And I don't know who the remaining 40 or 50 people were, but my goodness, that was a desolate, very thin-haired, almost Prince William bald crowd right there. And it had to have been embarrassing because those down with the crown, not my king folk, they were out in droves with the yellow shirts and yellow banners. Child. Anyways, I think I've said everything I need to say. You can keep kidding yourself if you'd like to. You can keep being deranged if you'd like to. You can keep pretending and dissociating as much as you want to. It doesn't change the truth. It doesn't change the facts. It doesn't change, what we're all living through as a matter of, life. As a matter of reality. We don't get to just say this isn't reality because I can't handle that. We don't get to do that. We all have to live in this exact same reality. And I think that the sooner you Karens just get a hold of yourselves in the reality that you live in and accept that someone is better than you, that you are not the fairest of them all, I think the better you yourself and your mental health will be. Don't consider us. Don't consider the people who are calling you out. Don't consider anyone else but yourself in this moment. Put yourself first. Come back to reality. Come back to the real world. What you're doing, this kind of, very broadband dissociation, it's killing y'all. It is really killing y'all. Anyways, y'all, that's going to be all from me today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you liked this episode, please consider joining our squad. We have a lot of really wonderful members only perks that you will find once you click on the banner pinned in the chat. Thank you so much to my squaddies. I love y'all deep. Whatever you're getting into for the rest of the weekend, please be safe. Please be kind. And I will see you guys later. Bye for now.